everyone. My name is Abed, and I am from Brokeree Solutions. Brokeree Solutions is a technology provider that's been on the market for the past 13 years, providing Forex brokers with technology solutions such as social trading, PAM, ratings module, and other risk management tools. In today's session, we're going to be discussing how to pick the best signal provider. In a previous session, I saw Muayyad spoke about social trading in general. He tapped a little bit on the topic of picking a signal provider. Today, we're going to be discussing how to pick the best signal providers and 3 critical elements to avoid while picking a signal provider. And then we're going to discuss how our ratings module could help you. Maybe you're using a different platform than Brokeree, so the information might look a bit different from your end of copy trading, but the information will be still beneficial for you. Just a quick clarification before we start. Brokeree Solutions is a software provider. We do not provide any services for individuals nor financial advice. So, first of all, 3 critical signal provider checks before we start the process of following. Understanding your own risk profile. To evaluate what's your risk profile and to evaluate beforehand your elements, your tools, before you actually start copying, before you actually start following. We have 3 major points. What's your risk tolerance? Is it conservative or aggressive? And when we say is it conservative or aggressive, this element particularly tackles a few points where, first of all, how experienced you are in trading, in copy trading. As a person, your personality in general, are you a person who's conservative with their investment, or are you a person who is more aggressive and more risk taker? Okay? The second part here is how much capital do you have? How much capital are you allocating to begin with social trading and to invest with a particular provider? The third one, are you keen to invest in commodities, stocks, metals, etc.? What I see also, point 2, how much capital do you have? It affects a lot point 1 and point 3. It's very important. If you have particular capital, it's also related to being conservative or aggressive, because if your capital is not very big, you'd rather be conservative at the beginning until you start making more money, and then you start investing more, and then be more aggressive or participate with more aggressive providers. And at the same time, it works on the instruments that you choose to copy. So, for example, if you're copying Forex, you need like a particular capital, but if you're copying gold or copying metals, you'd need a different type of funds, like you need a larger capital. So it's important to identify, first of all, your risk tolerance before you start looking for a provider. It's like you're checking your own tools before you go on a trip. You have everything with you, you have your passport, you have everything, and then you start allocating the provider. So we're going to jump into the 3 signal provider checks. First of all, the proven performance. Proven performance is very important. In the nowadays, sometimes you'd receive a performance from a provider by a screenshot or a spreadsheet. And this is not the type of performance that you'd like to see of a provider. Maximum drawdown and risk management. What is the drawdown of a provider? The drawdown of a provider is very important to assess before following the provider. And what risk management do they use as providers? Risk profiles, positioning, and account maturity. This particularly talks about for how long have they been providers, for how long have they been trading, to see their history. Do they have a 1-month history? Do they have 6 months history? Or do they have more? And that would give you more clarity, and that would give you more information to assess accordingly. So we tap into the proven performance. First of all, the audited data. As I mentioned before, lots of providers, they provide their performance via screenshots or via spreadsheets, and all of these elements are not elements you're looking for, because In the nowadays, you can go into any AI generator and just type in generate this photo for me, and it will generate any type of photos. So these proofs are not actual proofs to the performance. And even spreadsheets. You need audited data. You need data that comes directly from the broker's trading platform. You need to see data that cannot be edited. You need to see solid proof data. And then we have the set realistic win rates. You need to set your mind to realistic win rates. When you see high win rates, this is not realistic. When you see someone always winning all the time, this is not realistic. You need to check the market. You need to check what is the realistic win rates, and then set your expectations to that realistic win rates. And then we have the consistent equity curve. So when you check the data that's provided by the provider, you need to check the consistency of the equity curve. Are they consistent, or they have lots of drop downs, or they have lots of spikes? This is very important to check, and also to check over time. And we go back to the account maturity. We have here the red flags to avoid when choosing a provider. So the perfect history, when the history is too perfect, you need to look closer into the instruments, into the information that's reflected on their profile. And then when the win rates are above 90%, that's also another red flag that you should look into. And the hero month. The hero month is when a provider only shares a particular month. We're in June now, the provider only shares the performance of March. Why are you sharing only the performance of March? I need to see your performance from since today and 6 months back. I want to see a big chunk of performance for me to decide as a trader whether I want to follow you or not. And now we're going to talk about the maximum drawdown and the risk management. The drawdown is a measure between the high points of performance and the drops of the provider. So the drawdown is a very important element where a provider might have a high win rate, but they also might have a high max drawdown. And that is not a good indicator. That is a risky investment. What you're looking for is the lowest possible max drawdown with a stable winning rate. And then we have the key management strategies. If they use stop loss orders, if they diversifying portfolios, reducing positions sizes, and maintaining emotional discipline to avoid price scaling. And then the red flags also to avoid is deep drawdowns. Anything above 30 to 40% is risky, is considered to be risky. And then no visible stop losses. So when you start following a provider and then you see that they don't set stop losses to trades, this is a red flag indicator. We have the risk profile positioning. First of all, diversification, account maturity, and average trade size and duration. So the diversification is particularly the diversification in instruments. This provider, are they basically working with one instrument? Are they only trading gold, or they have a diversity of trades? They trade gold and dollar and euro and forex and commodities. They trade with everything, or they have a specialty where they're specialized into trading. Account maturity, we've also discussed it a while ago, is how long have been they trading on the platform. And a good ratings module, a good platform should give you that in days. So it should give you how many days have they been trading for, and it should give you all the curves accordingly. And then the average trade size and duration. Particularly here, we're talking about the scalping. You should avoid scammers and scalpers. So you should look into the average trade size, how big are the trades, and what's the duration they open the trade for. And the red flags to avoid: volatility and return ratio, the return volatility, and the honeymoon account. The honeymoon account is the demo account. You need to make sure that the data reflected is reflected from a real trading account, not a demo account. So to tap into the software type, this is a screenshot from our ratings module. That's how it looks like. And this is the information reflected. Okay, so as you can see, this is from the outside. When you hit invest, you'll go into deeper information and graphs. So as you can see, everything is reflected from the broker's side. All the information cannot be edited. You can see all the information even from the outside. You can see the graphs. So this is, for example, a graph of high and low. You can see a more stable graph or a less stable graph. So how tools can help you. With platform analytics, equity versus balance charts. So you can see all the charts that you would need to view before making your decision. And as you can see, it's a very user-friendly graphs. It's a very user-friendly information. Any information you look for, it's just out there. You don't need to be an expert. Even if you're new to copy trading, it's just an information that's out there and you can easily view it. The symbol distribution, which is the instruments. It gives you in graphs as well how much in percentage this provider trades are allocated. So 10% they trade in gold, 20% in Euro USD, etc. And the volatility ratio and return volatility. Secondly is the performance visualization. Equity curve visualization. As I explained, the equity, you don't need to look into much of information. It's all reflected in graphs. And those graphs you can control, whether you view by month, 3 months, 6 months, last week. It has different time frames, and you can check the time frames. Because if you put only last week, for example, it might show a particular graph according to their performance, but you need the largest possible time frame to see the stability in their graph or not. Different timeline settings. We have also the different timeline settings. Performance validation. The third-party verification. So the third-party verification is basically, for example, in this case, Brokeree. Our platform cannot be edited by anyone. Our platform is installed into the broker's trading platform, and it reflects whatever action is done on the trading platform. So in that case, the provider cannot edit their information. So if you receive the widget, and if you receive the profile from the provider, from a third party, and you see the information as live information, you see their trading as live trading, and this is when you know that this is valid information that's reflected from the trading platform directly. And thank you. I'm done for here today. Have a good day.